The room that doesn't exist during the day. When the police broke down the wall at the end of the motel hallway, every officer froze. Behind the drywall, there was a door, charred black around the frame. The numbers 213 melted into the wood. The air that came out was stale, cold, and smelled faintly like rain on metal. One of the officers, a young deputy named Lewis, leaned closer and said quietly, "There's a phone ringing in there." But there was no phone, no wiring, nothing but darkness beyond the doorway. That was the night the Sunset Motel was shut down for good. Locals still talk about it. A place off Highway 89, 20 minutes from Flagstaff, where one room seemed to appear only after midnight. But before the police and the rumors, before the legends and the headlines, there was a man named Mark Delaney, and a night he should never have stayed. Mark was a traveling salesman, the kind who drove all day, lived out his car, and collected motel keys instead of memories. On the night of October 3rd, 1997, he was driving through a thunderstorm, searching for any light in the dark. He spotted a neon sign half flickering, Sunset Motel vacancy. It looked run down, but he was tired, and the rain was hitting harder. Inside the small lobby, the air smelled like old coffee and lemon cleaner. A woman at the front desk barely looked up from her crossword. "Got a room?" Mark asked. "Last one," she replied, sliding a key across the counter. 213, end of the hall. Mark frowned slightly. He saw the row of doors through a glass window, and the hallway didn't look long enough for that many rooms. But he took the key anyway. The tag was plastic, yellowed with age, and the numbers 213 were carved unevenly, as if done by hand. When he reached the end of the hall, he counted aloud, 209, 211. Then the hallway stopped. The wall was solid. No door. He looked back. Maybe he'd miss one. But no, that was it. Just a wall. Painted beige with a crack running down the center. Mark turned to head back, but then he noticed something strange. The emergency light above the exit flickered once, twice, and for a split second, a door appeared, right where the wall had been. A real door, with the number 213 and a faint red glow leaking from underneath. He blinked, and it was gone. Mark stood frozen. Rain pounded on the roof outside. Then, slowly, the light flickered again. The door returned. This time it stayed. His heart thudded. Maybe it was just the power glitching, he thought. Maybe his eyes were tired. But the key in his hand suddenly felt warm. He touched the doorknob. It was cold, almost wet. He took a breath and unlocked it. The door opened, and what he saw made him step back and drop the key. Inside was a motel room lit by a single desk lamp. Everything looked normal, except the bed, which was still made, and the faint sound of a phone ringing from somewhere deep inside. He hesitated, then whispered, "Hello?" The ringing stopped. From the darkness near the bathroom, a voice answered, soft, familiar, and trembling. "Don't close the door." Mark froze, because the voice wasn't someone else's. It was his own. Mark stumbled backward, his breath catching in his throat. The voice, his voice, echoed softly from inside the room, repeating, "Don't close the door." He stepped back into the hallway, blinking hard, but the words still hung in the air. The light above flickered again, casting the doorframe in stuttering flashes of white and shadow. When he dared to look back inside, the room looked empty now, silent. The desk lamp still glowed dimly, but the air felt colder, like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees in seconds. He turned to find someone, maybe the clerk, but when he looked down the hallway, it stretched longer than before. The exit sign at the end now seemed impossibly far away. He swallowed hard. "This is just exhaustion," he muttered. "I'm tired. That's all." Still, something pulled him back toward room 213. The curiosity burned stronger than the fear. Maybe someone was in there, maybe a trick of sound. He reached for the doorknob again, this time pushing it wide open. Inside, the room looked like every other budget motel room. Beige wallpaper, creaky ceiling fan, an old phone on the nightstand. The only strange thing was the mirror on the wall. It looked newer than everything else, cleaner, almost like it didn't belong there. He walked in slowly. The air hummed faintly, like static before a storm. He saw his reflection staring back, pale, nervous, the reflection light flickering behind him. He stared for a few seconds before whispering, "What is this place?" Then the phone rang again. The sound startled him so hard, he dropped his duffel bag. It rang with that sharp, shrill tone only old rotary phones have. He picked it up with shaking fingers. "Hello?" At first, there was nothing, just static. Then a woman's voice came through, quiet and trembling. "Don't let the sun rise while you're still inside." Mark froze. "Who is this?" he asked. But the line went dead. The lamp flickered once. Then the mirror rippled, like someone had touched the other side of the glass. His reflection blinked, but Mark hadn't. It tilted its head slowly, and the corners of its mouth turned upward in a smile Mark wasn't making. He stepped back, heart hammering. The reflection moved closer, not him, but the thing in the mirror. Behind it, faintly, Mark could see shapes, outlines of other people standing behind his reflection, all motionless, all facing forward. Then the phone rang again, louder. He spun, staring at it, but now it wasn't on the nightstand. It was on the bed. The cord stretched unnaturally long, winding across the floor like it was following him. The voice returned, whispering through the static, "Don't close the door." Mark turned and saw the doorknob start to twist on its own. As if something outside was trying to lock him in, he lunged forward and grabbed it, yanking the door open wide. But the hallway was gone. There was no motel, no rain, just endless blackness stretching beyond the doorframe, as if he were looking into a void that swallowed sound and light alike. He froze, realizing that if he stepped forward, he might not come back. Then the reflection in the mirror spoke again, calm, but in his own voice. "You already did." The door slammed shut. The sound of the door slamming echoed endlessly, like it was bouncing off invisible walls. Mark spun around, grabbing the handle, but it wouldn't budge. He yanked again, harder, until the metal burned cold against his palm. It was sealed. The air in room 213 had changed. The hum was louder now, not from electricity, but from something deeper, like a vibration beneath the floorboards. Mark backed away, his heartbeat syncing with the pulsing sound. He reached for his phone. No signal. The screen glitched, showing random digits where the time should be. 3:13, then 12:00, then nothing but a blank glow before it powered off completely. He turned to the mirror again. His reflection stood still for a moment, mirroring him perfectly, then smiled faintly 1 second too late. "Okay," he whispered. "This is a dream, a nightmare. I just need to wake up." He shut his eyes tight and counted to 10. When he opened them, the mirror was empty. His reflection was gone. That was when the whispers started. They came from the walls, soft, distant voices murmuring words he couldn't make out. Male, female, some broken, some weeping. He pressed his ear against the wallpaper and heard scratching, like fingernails dragging just beneath the surface. He stumbled back, terrified, and his shoulder brushed the phone cord. The receiver swung off the bed and hit the floor with a dull thud. The static roared instantly, and through it came a voice, clear, firm, and terrified. "Whoever you are, if you can hear this, you're not supposed to be there." Mark froze. "Who is this?" he shouted. The voice hesitated. "My name's." The sound cut out, replaced by another voice, his own again. "You're wasting time, Mark. The sun's almost up." He looked toward the window, but it wasn't dark anymore. The faintest glow of dawn was pushing through the blinds, and as the first light touched the walls, the paint began to bubble and peel, as if reacting violently to sunlight. The whispers grew frantic. The mirror rippled again, and faces began pressing against the inside of the glass. Human shapes distorted, eyes wide in silent screams. One of them looked exactly like him. Mark bolted toward the door, slamming his fist against it. "Let me out," he shouted. "Let me out." No one answered. He turned back, searching for anything, a window latch, a vent, a way to break through. But the window was gone. The curtains hung over nothing but bare plaster. The furniture had shifted too. The bed was now angled toward the mirror, and the phone cord had coiled itself neatly into the shape of a number. 213. His pulse pounded. He stumbled to the center of the room, staring at the mirror as the faces pressed closer. The whispers now formed words. It has to choose. Mark's reflection appeared again, but this time was different, sharper, darker, and smiling wider than any human could. It looked at him and said calmly, "You stayed too long." Mark's body stiffened. He couldn't move. The light from the window flared, the walls shaking, the hum rising to a scream. Then, all at once, silence. The room looked normal again. The bed was neatly made. The phone sat quiet. The door stood half open. And Mark Delaney was gone. Hours later, when the morning clerk came to clean, she frowned at the wall where room 213 should have been. There was no door, just smooth, freshly painted plaster. But when she leaned close, she thought she heard something faint on the other side, a phone ringing softly in the dark. 2 weeks after Mark Delaney's disappearance, the Sunset Motel was almost empty. Guests had stopped coming, and the few who did left before sunrise. Locals whispered that the place was cursed, that something in the east hallway wasn't meant to exist. The new night clerk, Diane Rivers, didn't believe the rumors. She'd worked night shifts her whole life. Truck stops, hospitals, diners, and had seen what tired minds could imagine in the dark. Still, the manager's warning stuck with her. Don't bother with the end of the hall after midnight. That night, just past 12, the storm rolled in again. Rain rattled the roof. Thunder cracked in the distance, and the power flickered. Diane sipped cold coffee, scrolling through old police reports online. That's when she saw it, a scanned image of the motel's guest log from 1997. Mark Delaney's name was there, signed neatly on October 3rd. But below it, a second signature appeared. The same handwriting, dated a week later. Same name, same pen. Her heart thudded. "That's not possible," she whispered. The lights flickered again. This time, one stayed dim, the emergency light above the far end of the hall. She looked up and froze. A door was there, room 213. She blinked hard. The storm flashed again, and the door vanished. Just a wall. But in the faint reflection on the polished floor, she could still see it standing there, perfectly visible in the reflection, but not in reality. Diane stood slowly, grabbing her flashlight. Every instinct told her to stay put, but something else, something like gravity, pulled her forward. Her footsteps echoed softly as she walked down the hall. Each light she passed flickered and dimmed until only the one above room 213 remained. She reached out. Her hand touched solid air. The door wasn't there, but it was... She could feel the cool brass handle beneath her fingers, invisible yet real. Then the phone at the front desk began to ring. She turned slightly confused. The line should have been dead during power surges. Still, she walked back and picked it up. Sunset Motel, front desk. Static. Then a man's voice, distant, shaking. Is this the front desk?" Diane frowned. "Yes, sir. Who's calling?" "I've been trying to check out," the man said, "but the door won't open. I don't know what time it is. The sun's coming up." Her stomach dropped. "Sir, where are you calling from?" The voice trembled. "Room 213. Her eyes widened. She turned toward the end of the hall, and the door was fully visible now. Faint red light spilled from beneath it. The phone clicked off. Diane took a shaky step forward. The door handle turned once, twice, slowly creaking open. Inside, she saw a single lamp glowing on a nightstand, and beside it, an old yellow key tag with 213 carved into it. The air smelled like rain. The bed was made. The phone on the table began to ring again, just once, short and sharp. Then silence. When she blinked, the room was gone. Just the wall again, smooth and unbroken. By morning, the motel manager found Diane's coffee still warm and her flashlight rolling slowly across the floor. She was gone, no sign of struggle, no footprints, just a faint smell of ozone and old dust. That afternoon, the police sealed the building. A year later, when construction crews tore it down, they found something behind the drywall, a sealed doorframe scorched black and marked with fingernail scratches on the inside. They never found Diane or Mark Delaney. But locals still drive past the empty lot at night, saying if you stop and listen carefully, you can hear a faint phone ringing, and sometimes if the lightning flashes just right, you can see the reflection of a door that isn't really there. And if you ever see it, don't try to open it